Welcome everybody to the Digital Nomad Sessions. My name is Mitch Asser, your host, and I have a really special guest with me today. I've got John Schumacher. John, thanks for joining us.
Mitch, I'm excited. Let's do it.
Absolutely, and it's not our first time chatting. We've chatted many times before, or a couple of times before. And John, what I really love about your work is just your dedication to helping people and simplifying it. So I'm really excited to dive into this topic today, which is the three components to a profitable multi six-figure coaching business. Now, for the people at home who don't know John yet, let me just give you a quick introduction, then we're going to dive straight into the content. But John is a client acquisition strategist, webinar specialist, and online marketing advisor to coaches, consultants, and service providers. John's clients have earned over $10 million using these strategies in just the past 3 years, which is really exciting. So I guess, John, let's start with maybe like the higher level conversation. Why is growing a coaching business so desirable right now? I see it as probably being one of the fastest growing areas to start online and to grow online.
Yep.
And I guess, why is it important to grow to multi six figures rather than just getting by like I see so many coaches actually doing these days?
Yeah. So as far as why it's becoming more popular, I think it's just there's more and more people doing it these days. And so they see other people doing it and they say, well, I'd like to be my own boss too, or I'd like to work from home, or I'd like to do this. So it's an attractive proposition, right? For people to be able to have flexible hours, work on their own time, work with the clients they want, be their own boss and all that kind of stuff. And as more and more people do it, more and more people see other people doing it, they want to do it as well. And I think a big part of that is just simply technology. Like when I started online, there was no tools that made things easy to set up web pages and stuff like that. So the barrier to entry for becoming an online coach has dropped, right? I mean, it's just a lot easier to get your stuff set up and getting going. So there's more and more people coming into online business. It's becoming more and more mainstream. And so I think those are a couple big reasons why so many people are wanting to do this lifestyle kind of coaching business that more people are doing. As far as like six figures and multiple six figures, I mean, people can rock on however they want in life. You may not need that level. I just feel it's a level that's attainable for someone over the course of a few years. It can be kept fairly simple. Like if you're just someone who wants a lifestyle kind of business where you want the simplicity, you want to work with a handful or a few handfuls of clients or so. You don't want a lot of employees or overhead or complication in your marketing or in your fulfillment systems. Then I think a multiple six-figure business provides a nice income for you. It still allows you to have some simplicity and time freedom and flexibility and those kind of things. If you go a little higher into like the 7-8 figure range, you're looking at a different type of structure to your business and adding more pieces to it. So I just think it's attractive. I think the majority of people out there would be happy with a multiple six-figure profit business and have the simplicity that goes with that. I think most people I speak to want that, and there's of course some that want more than that or want to build a bigger organization, which is fine too.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a really good point. And it's definitely, I think, probably the people watching at home now is, I think, like the way that we think about it is let's build our lifestyle first and then fit a business or an income stream around how we want to live our life. And yeah, I totally agree. Coaching is a really great way to get into that. And there's a lot more demand for clients actually going to coaches rather than traditional education these days as well. So building up that business is going to be, yeah, it can be quite lucrative and give you the
Yep.
lifestyle that you need as well. So that's really cool. So I'm excited for this, and I know a lot of people at home will be as well. So let's dive in now to the three components of building a profitable multi six figure coaching business.
Yeah. So I have a program, a framework, and a program that I've shared with my clients the last year or two, and have been sharing it more recently public facing. And I call it the OLC formula. It stands for offer, lead, conversion. And so those are really, to me, from a client acquisition standpoint, which is really your number one goal. Getting clients and getting clients results in the beginning from a client acquisition standpoint are like the three building blocks, so to speak, if you were to simplify things down. And I feel like I have a knack for simplifying things and cutting through to the 80/20, or what I call the 95/5 of the situation. And so it really boils down to those elements. So you need an offer, right? You need, as a coach, you need to have a program or a process that you can offer your clients to help them get from point A, where they're stuck, to point B, where they have a desired outcome. And one of the biggest things I think most coaches do is they don't structure their offers correctly. Their messaging isn't quite right, and they don't really structure it right from a pricing standpoint, and also from a duration and kind of how the program's put together, because those elements affect the amount of time you'll invest as well as the amount of money you'll make. So getting your offer right is what I call the foundational piece to having a successful coaching business. You can only ever make as much money as you can ask for. So, if you're trying to sell a little widget or a little course or program, and you don't have much of an audience to distribute that, you're going to be spinning your wheels, not really making much money. So, getting that piece is the foundational aspect to that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Such an important point. So you're saying there that a lot of coaches don't typically ask what they're worth, essentially, or
Well, I mean, I think you should be good at what you do, right? So if you're somebody
yeah,
who's never gotten anybody any results, and you're coming here flinging around these big price points, like, I don't know about that. Like, go get some people some results first. So, but I assume in this conversation that you're good at what you do. Maybe you're a professional or something like that, and you want to transition into coaching online and consulting online and those kind of things. That you should definitely charge a certain amount. Like, for most people that are business personal development type coaches, which is mostly who I work with, I would charge, when you're starting out, at least in most cases, a minimum of $1,000 per month, more in some cases, for at least your one-on-one kind of stuff. If you're going to start at that level, you don't want to be charging a couple $100 a month or something like that, or you just need too many clients, and if you do the math, you're just going to wear out. So getting those things in place is important as a good starting point for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Such a great point. I see a lot of coaches, especially those getting started, doing one-off sessions. How do you feel about them?
Again, I think if you have no experience or very little, you should go get some results for people. I mean, that's what you should do before you start advertising yourself as an expert. But you know, I, I don't agree with, like, as a long term strategy, selling yourself as one off or hourly or things like that. That's definitely going to lead you to like a hamster wheel type situation where you really aren't leveraging your value. You're selling your time more, which is not a good way in most cases to go, unless you're going to sell your time for extremely high dollar amounts or something like that, which you can do too. But yeah, I mean, I would say in some cases you could downsell to that kind of thing. Like, in my program, I have what I call a try me offer, which is something you could downsell to if someone's not ready to get married to your core offering right away. And in that case, it could be an audit or an assessment or a VIP session or something like that, to get them a taste of what you have to offer. And then you could apply that fee towards your core program and continue working with them if they want to do that, or if you guys both want to do that, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. It's a little more
amazing. That
complicated or a
yeah,
little more strategic, um,
yeah.
but I'm not in
No,
favor
that
of the
makes
hourly
total
thing.
sense.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Definitely. No, I love that. I think that's a really good way to think about it. I will just like pre-frame something. No matter where I go, somebody follows me around with a lawnmower and whippersnipper. So if you hear that in the background, I apologize. Um, but yeah, I think that's a really important point for a lot of coaches to understand. And I guess the clients are wanting the outcome rather than how many hours they work with them per month, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's value based. And again, if you're transforming another human being, I think you shouldn't be undercharging. I mean, I would
Yeah,
say minimum 1,000 a month to start, and go up from there. If you're doing any kind of like relationship, business, um, personal development type industries, that you're really making a difference for people, and so you'll just have to have the confidence. And that's another conversation we don't have to go down, but you
yeah,
know
yeah, absolutely.
otherwise
Awesome.
you're setting yourself up for struggle.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Amazing. So that's the offer. Is there anything else you want to cover on the offer before we dive into step number two?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I don't want to overwhelm people, but I think that gives them a good idea of kind of how to think about it.
Yeah,
So we can go to
perfect.
the second part.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into the second part now.
So that was the O part. So the L part is leads. So you'll need prospects and people to talk to. So how I would define a lead for you as a coach, or in this case, a coach or a consultant, is a conversation with a ideal prospect where you're discussing your services. So I'm not necessarily talking about an email opt-in or something in this particular case. For me, the goal for coaches is they're just not getting into enough conversations with prospects, right? They're not visible enough. They're not, generating interest in conversations with those prospects, and those conversations could happen through email, could happen through Messenger if you're using Facebook or something like that. It could happen through a phone conversation. In a lot of cases, you'll use a phone conversation or a Zoom meeting like this to talk with prospects. I tend to favor that more now these days for qualified prospects. So those are some key elements as far as how to generate leads for your business. There's really three ways. One is organically. So if you have a Facebook following or an email list, and those kind of things, you can generate conversations and leads and prospects through those networks. So it could be LinkedIn, Facebook, email database, whatever you're doing. And most people don't make enough offers to their list and their audience. They don't. They tend to they get nervous about it, or they don't want to be too aggressive, or and they don't make a crystal clear offer enough to their audiences to actually get into conversations with people. I see it all the time. Like, people, they give all this value, and even the value is sort of disjointed all over the place, and it doesn't really bring people to them. So anyway, I won't go down that road too far, but your organic audience, your current audience, is one avenue to get leads. And you'll want to continue to grow that. I call it your hub. Like, maybe it's a Facebook group and an email list or whatever, and you're growing these things over time. More people are joining, giving you a bigger pool to reach out to and give value to and make offers to. The second one is partnerships. So like you're doing with the summit here, Mitch. I've done a couple summits. I know you're a pro at summits, and you've done much more than I have in that regard. As you know, the power of using partners and other people to collaborate with you to expand your hub, to expand your list, to expand your audience is a good tool, right? So summits are, they take some work, obviously, and there's some involvement in there, but they can be a great tool for expanding your audience. Doing webinars with other people is how I got started years ago doing that. Co-interviews is another way. Lead magnet exchanges, where they send your PDF to their audience and maybe you send yours to theirs. Like, there's ways to grow your email list and your groups online using partnerships with other people that are in or around your industry. And then finally, paid traffic is the last one. A little trickier, a long topic. I know you're an expert at that as well. And for most coaches, they can tend to get themselves into trouble in most cases if they or don't really have their funnels and their back end and all that set up well. I mean, you can certainly pay for traffic. That doesn't mean something lovely is always going to pop out the other side if you don't kind of have your foundation in place. So those are really the three main aspects for generating leads.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, really good point. I think a lot of people tend to want to go to the paid traffic straight away before they even know if their offer is converting and things like that, because that's all they know. Where it's just going to illuminate, if you've got a bad conversion rate, it's just going to make it even more obvious. So yeah, such an important point. And I think the one of my mentors told me, most business owners who are doing any less than seven figures should be spending 80% of their time on sales and marketing, whereas most business owners are spending less than 10% on that, doing that type of stuff. So, yeah, like you say, it's just about having more conversations, whether it's through Messenger or email or on Zoom or over the phone. So, yeah, it's really valuable.
Now, I'll mention one more thing. Be careful following the online celebrities if you're just beginning and looking at what they're doing, because they have teams of people, they have budgets, they have all this stuff, and you could get caught up in the complexity of trying to model what they're doing. The main thing for you, if you're looking at, let's say you're starting, or maybe you're making $5,000 a month or something and you want to grow, you need to get into more conversations with your prospects, and do things that aren't scalable in the beginning, right? I read a great article from the co-founder of the Y Combinator. I think his name's Paul Graham, and he told stories of these great startups that are now huge companies that they were knocking on doors. Like Airbnb was like knocking on doors trying to get people to sign up, and like 30 days away from going bankrupt. Like just for a while they were doing that, like just knocking on doors, would you sign up? Knocking on doors, would you sign up? Stripe, the payment processor, also, they used to manually just go up to people, and when they said yes, they would grab their computer and sign them up right on the spot and stuff like that. So, you know, d- d- don't try to like get away from having these conversations with people. It'll serve you well. You'll be better for it. And if you get big enough and you wanted to build that bigger business at some point, you could get away from that more. But I think for most people on here, do things that aren't scalable, get into more conversations.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. And I think everyone should rewind and listen to that again because it's such a valuable tip. And it's sometimes the difference between people making it and not making it because you don't run out of cash so quickly when you're burning it and doing things that are not like trying to automate things too soon. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's such an valuable point. So we talked about the offer and then we talked about generating leads. Is there anything more before we dive into the next?
Yeah, so it's OLC, so offer, lead, and then conversion meaning you have to be able to enroll a lead or a prospect into a paying client, and there's we could have a whole discussion on that. I have some great articles and stuff if people want that. I have all my stuff like basically published online, so you can look at that. But the big thing there is you need to get comfortable, using conversational language. Now, again, it could be in Messenger, it could be an email, could be a phone, could be on Zoom, or whatever you're using. But you need to get comfortable making offers in those situations. And I think the biggest tip I could give you for this audience would be don't come to your call cold without them knowing anything about you, about your offer, and those kind of things. Your marketing and your what I call your pre-call sequence should do about 80% of the lifting for you. And the call is just to build rapport, answer questions, confirm some things, and then discuss next steps, basically. So I recommend, if you want to get better at the enrollment process, you get better at what happens before the call, and that's a big part of it. So make sure to if you have like record a video about your process and send that to them before the call. If you have case studies you can share with your prospects before the call, do that. Like, so share some materials before they even talk to you, so you block these objections like, I don't know you, I don't trust you, I don't know who else you've worked with. All of these objections that come up if you're just like booking a lead and then popping up in the conversation and going, here I am, like, do you want to work with me? You're starting, I guess, at the bottom of the mountain instead of kind of halfway up. So
Mm,
just some
so,
thoughts there.
yeah, that's so valuable. It's actually exactly what I did last year while I was building out my marketing agency. Was every single lead that came through, I'd send them a Loom video, so a person, not just a standard
Nice.
video, but a personalized one to that specific lead, outlining all of those things like who I've worked with, the results that we've got, what I offer,
Yep.
how that could
Smart.
potentially serve them, and I think my conversion rates from the calls that I got into was something like 80 to 90% for the people that I was speaking with,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome and something that you can definitely do in the early stages and grow to multi six figures doing it that way, which is really cool. So, I guess the first question that came up for me then was, should you reveal your price before you're actually on the conversation with them?
Yeah, it's a good question. So here's the answer. It a little bit depends, for me, and this is a common discussion I've had with others. For me, like, if I'm getting a good amount of leads, meaning like a good amount of conversations coming, I want to filter them a little harder. So what I'll do in my case is I'll say something like, well, let's discuss your needs on the call, but I have offers that range from this price to this price. So I'll say, like, if my minimum offer that I'll really even want to talk to them about is like, let's say, like, for me, it's $5,000 now. Like, if we're not going to talk about like a $5,000 thing or something, like, I don't want to have I mean, from a colder lead perspective, I don't want to. No, I'll still talk to friends on Facebook, obviously. Like, don't talk to me if you can't give me $5,000. I don't want to come across that way, you know. But what I'm saying is like have a minimum range that you're willing to sell something on the phone to them about. Otherwise, like I'm not going to get on the phone to sell someone $100 thing or something, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? So like I'll use ranges in my filtering process before the call to give them an idea of what kind of offers in like a minimum price point, you know, kind of thing. I learned that from my friend Tom Poland. He does that too. He does a pretty good job of filtering prospects, but he'll give a range before the call so people have an understanding of the types of price points you're looking at. So I would use that more with like colder inbound kind of inquiries and stuff, or you know people that you don't know as well. If you're in Messenger or something like that, you could just use a something. You could use a range, or you could use you know some other methods, but it's a little bit of a balance. Like if you're not getting a lot of calls, I would recommend you take more calls just to get better at it. Even if you maybe talk to some unqualified people that aren't, you know, your fit. But as you get more leads coming in, you definitely want to like kind of toughen up that filter a little bit because otherwise you're going to be talking to too many unqualified folks that just aren't serious and you're going to waste a lot of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that advice for many different reasons. One of them being like, you know, if you are very new and early stage and you're getting a lot of leads coming through, firstly, those conversations, yeah, they definitely help your skills. But secondly, I find that if you can provide some value on that call for that person to get them to the next step so that they will be qualified in 3 to 6 months, then you're going to be the first person that they'll come back to when they are ready. And you
Yeah.
know, hopefully that'll be an easier conversion for you as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
such
Cool.
really great, amazing tips there, John. Is there anything else around the conversion component that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, that depends on how much we want to talk about it. You know, I mean, as far as the actual sales call, um, you know, keep it casual. I like to build rapport. And then basically what you're looking for is what I call a now and win bridge, right? So it's like find out where they're at now and what their challenges are and what they came to you for. Find out where they want to go a little bit, you know, like where would you like to go, and find out what they need help with. And you've kind of created a bridge that kind of shapes your ability to prescribe them the appropriate offer. So I always think of it as like on these calls, and I don't have a ton of offers, but I have a series of offers in different. I have a series of offers built around like one thing. Like, so if I'm doing webinar consulting, I have a series of different offers that I can prescribe to that person based on what their needs are and their ability to pay are, you know? So think of yourself as a doctor on these calls, prescribing the right solution, asking good questions. A doctor will always ask you questions first before they'll prescribe the medication. So you should sort of be that way as well.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and probably brings up another question, which we're sort of maybe backtracking towards the offer now. Is I think another common you know mistake or something that early stage coaches just don't think about is a lot of the time they just have the one offer, and that's like you know this is my 6 week program, this is what you get. Do you want it?
Right.
But you're saying there, you know, the offers should be around the particular type of outcome that you want them to give, but then having multiple options at multiple different price points so that when you do jump on that call, I guess you're going to have a higher chance of converting them into something.
Is 100% the truth, and hardly anybody talks about it. And I found great
Mm.
success with it. Like, you can have one program as a coach, like one way of getting clients results, but I like to have at least three different ways you could package them without having to change a bunch of things or tax your time too much. So, for some coaches, it could be a one-on-one offer if you're doing that kind of thing. Could be a group offer, and then it could be what I call a try me offer, which you only bring up if you need to downsell from pricing challenges and stuff like that. So you might prescribe them as a doctor would your one-on-one option if you have room and want more one-on-one clients, because usually you get higher fees faster for that stuff. And if they can't do that, you can say, that's all right. No, I have this group offer that is a little less, still gives you a lot of what you're looking for. What do you think of that? And they might be saying, well, I can do that one, you know? So, but if you only had the one that you might miss out on the others, and you can always ascend those people later too. So, you know, have some flexibility, but don't create a bunch of programs, but you can create a few different ways you package your offers to dramatically increase your conversion rate on these calls.
Yeah, that's amazing, and you're right. Like that's very rarely spoken about, but yeah, it definitely makes a difference.
It
What
works.
do you think that the difference in pricing? So, like, if you're price anchoring to, maybe we're getting a little bit more advanced in this now, but price anchoring to like your highest program first. However, your main program is like the most popular one. Do you think that helps as well? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it can. And it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Like, let's say you are doing one-on-one and you're kind of over that, or you don't want to do that, then you'll have to kind of think about how you want to structure things differently, but you can get creative with that. But yeah, I would prescribe the top offer you feel like there's a good chance that they'll take, and then downsell from there. So like start high and downsell. If if you're getting the pricing objection, there's different strategies like, oh, well, it's about price or value. Is this about price or value to you? And there's lots of like sales gurus out there that will tell you that. I personally haven't found that to be effective for me. Like if I start like trying to like, you know, if they say, well, that's kind of a lot, John, I don't know if I can do that. Well, what are you concerned about? Value or price? Like, like kind of going down these roads. And I know that's probably what you could or should or potentially could say. It's just not how I like to operate. So I may dig a little bit and find out if that's truly true for them. But otherwise, I'll just say, okay, no, I get that. Like, I don't want you to put yourself in a bad financial situation. So um, if you can't do the one-on-one, I do have a group offer that offers a little bit of one-on-one or something for this price. What do you think of that? And they might be like, well, yeah. Or if they don't take that one and you still want to work with them, that's the key, and you're willing to do it, you could downsell a step further to a trial, like try me offer, or like a starter offer that you don't mind doing, that can kind of start the relationship. And then at the end of that little trial, that little try me offer, you can just take that fee they paid you and say at the end of that, well, if you'd like to work more together, I can take the fee that you already paid me and just apply that to the bigger program and move them right up. So it doesn't always work that way, but it's thinking strategically like this that really can make a huge difference for your coaching business.
Yeah, absolutely. This is amazing, and yeah, a ton of value here. Like, I've been through a lot of courses. There's so much more value in this, John, than a lot of major courses out there. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing all of this. I guess so we've got our OLC formula, so our offer lead conversion. Is there
Yes.
anything else that you want to say? Maybe to wrap up this particular topic before we dive into one of the questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's the program I'm working with clients around one-on-one. I have some limited one-on-one, and it's a group offer as well. So I practice what I preach, kind of thing with this. But yeah, I mean, it's a simplified way. So if it's about sales and marketing and training. That's what it is for coaches and consultants who are making like $3,000 to $5,000 a month at least. So I don't work with like total beginners in this case. I want someone who has a little bit of an audience already, so that I can help them make an ROI on the program quick. I always like to try to get a quick ROI with people if I can. So that's kind of who it's for specifically. So if you're listening to this and you're interested, that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely, and
Thanks.
super valuable as well. So, I guess before we do wrap up, I'm curious to know, like, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people who are out there trying to build a coaching business? Like, what are they doing that you think they need to stop doing and then start doing better?
Yeah, we mentioned a couple of these already. I think the biggest one is trying to copy the online celebrities and looking at their models and saying, well, they're selling a $47 thing up into a $997 thing, and into all this kind of stuff, and they're running the Facebook ads and all that. And what that does in most cases is it leaves 90% of coaches just frustrated and a little lighter in the wallet most of the time, because they just can't get that model to work. So it's called the ascension model, right? Where you start low and ascend people high. And, are there some people that make that work? Sure. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, right? But for most coaches listening to this, you're good at what you do, but you maybe aren't a marketing or sales expert. Maybe you don't want to be. Maybe you don't want to be a digital marketing expert out there. There's a simpler way to do things without doing that model. And I'm a big fan of what I call the descension model, right? So you start with a little bit higher price stuff to bring in some cash flow, to start reinvesting in some things. And if you want, you can start working your way down. So if you wanted to start, even one-on-one, if you're willing to jump in and do that, which I would recommend for a lot of people just starting, get some one-on-one clients, talk to them, get feedback, get results, get case studies. Then you can spend some of that money to build your audience a little bit, and then launch a group program if you want. And then, again, spend some more of the money you make there. And if you want to create this online course kind of thing that you see a lot of folks doing out there, then you could do that at that point if you want. But I wouldn't even consider doing that until you're at six figures or so. You could get pretty far with just, some one-on-one and group clients, and you can easily hit some nice cash flow with low overhead, high profit margins, and have some good money to invest into things going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I've actually worked with a company who had one product at $14,000 and they built that up to $5 million a year before they even started descending down to the lower priced offers. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely possible. So
Yep.
yeah, this has been a really great chat, John. I'm sure there's going to be some people out there who want to can continue the conversation with you. So where can they go to do that?
Yeah. So if you want to join the OLC Facebook group, I have a private group. I think it's, what is it considered, closed or something? It's available if you search it, but you have to apply to get in, kind of thing. So if you go to groupwithjohn.com, groupwithjohn.com, that'll bring you to that Facebook group where you can request to join. It is a group for coaches and consultants who want to learn more about sales and marketing, the kind of stuff we just talked about. And it's for folks that are usually making like $3,000 to $5,000 a month at a minimum. So if you're, at the super beginner level, I hope you take some of the advice that I gave you here, and some of the other panelists are going to give you here, and go and take some action on it. But that's kind of the group that I'm looking at starting to work with at that level. So groupwithjohn.com is a good resource if you're at that level. Otherwise, you can check out johnschumacher.com and check out my blog there. I have some great articles on like sales calls for coaches, lots of scripts and tools there that you can look at for free just to kind of get yourself started and to improve things. So those would be the two places you can reach me, or just put my name into Google or Facebook or whatever, and I'll pop up.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. And I encourage everybody to do that. I've actually read a number of your posts on your blog, and yeah, there's so much amazing content in there for people if they are looking to in
More
that
to
more of that
come.
early stage as well. So
Yep.
that's really cool. So yeah, John, I just want to just say thanks again for taking some time to share your valuable wisdom with us today, all around building a profitable coaching business. Like I said, there's been so much amazing stuff in here that a lot of people don't talk about, but can make a major difference for the people wanting to build that successful business. So yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate you having me, Mitch. Thank you.
No problem. And for everyone at home, I encourage you to take some action here today if you are looking to build a profitable coaching business and get started on that. So we'll see you in the next one.